Welcome to Hannah's Heart.
So Hannah, she's just one of the women who did struggle with infertility in the Bible.
No matter who we are, we can be inspired by the fact that Hannah took her pain to God, and God heard her and was with her.
So when she was praying at the temple, she had been weeping and not eating, and her lips were moving, but her eyes were closed, and the priest was like, "Hey, why are you drunk at the temple?"
It can become an obsession when you want a child so deeply.
And desiring that baby and to be a mama. Every holiday, every Mother's Day.
This is not a show that's going to promise you a certain outcome, but this is a show that says, however God answers your cry, we know that He's enough.
Hey everybody, this is Kendra.
And I'm Ann with Hannah's Heart.
That's right, on American Family Radio. We're glad you're here.
That's right.
We are so excited about today's program. We have some guests that possibly the most prestigious, most spectacular guests we will ever have on Hannah's Heart.
That's right. At least we have to say it while they're in the room.
That's true. That's true. They are our moms.
They're our mamas.
We obviously would not be here without them.
That's right. That's right. They're super special people. I know you have a wonderful relationship with your mama, and I do too. And we've talked about this episode for a long time, and I've had to talk to Lisa over and over and over again about coming on the show.
Behind the scenes on your mama. Like a couple weeks ago, we were recording for Hannah's Heart, and I needed someone to watch Baby Girl while we came. And Eric said, "Who's watching our daughter when you go?" And I said, "Oh, Ann's mom." And he said, "Have you met her?" I said, "No, actually I haven't." So I just trust that if she's Ann's mom, she's got to be great.
She's the best.
And she was. She did not disappoint.
I would gladly leave Jane with Karen over there.
Thank you. After meeting her. But no, I love your mama and my mama.
Should we bring up the first time how I met your parents?
Oh my goodness, please no. Please no. We'll keep that one behind the scenes.
Okay.
Let's just say she got to know my family, the real raw
I
side
felt like
real
family within the first 30 seconds.
Well, part of the reason we want to talk about this topic is we have talked in the past about sometimes you have expectations for yourself when you're struggling with infertility or miscarriage, but you also have these expectations for wanting your parents to be grandparents.
Sure.
And that desire. And there's this whole other, infertility doesn't just affect you and your spouse, it affects your whole family.
Right.
Especially when they're praying and interceding and helping you walk through that journey. So we wanted to have the mama's perspectives today.
So we're glad you're here. Mama, you want to introduce yourself? You want me to introduce you?
She nods.
She's just nodding. My mom's name is Lisa, and she lives in Tupelo, Mississippi, the same place that I live, and we've lived here for a long time, since I was like 3. And like I said earlier, we do have such a great relationship, a sweet friendship that I feel like we've developed from long time ago, day one. And so her watching me walk through infertility, it kind of shocked her, I think, maybe more than it shocked me. And so I know her heart was definitely not prepared to watch her daughter struggle to have a baby, because it's something that she never struggled with.
It's rare. I never dealt with it before.
Right. And so I think it almost shocked her. She was like, what do you mean infertility? You know? So I'm interested to talk more about that and let the listeners hear from her side of the story today.
Awesome. And my mom's Karen. Mom, say hi.
Hi there.
She adopted 3 and was in foster care. My mom and dad met through a Methodist Children's Home where they both worked. And so they're familiar with adoption, as well as I have a biological brother and myself, and we also have the same story of being BFFs. And she knows my heart possibly closer than anyone, and was able to walk through this journey really closely with me. So.
But I have to do it long distance now because I'm still in Kentucky.
Yes.
And she moved to Tupelo, Mississippi.
Yes, to get to work for AFA, but I get lots of visits, and especially now that there's a grandbaby, we get a few extra visits.
That's right. That's right. So they're special, special people, and I'm sure that a lot of our listeners have the same story. They're super close with their moms, but at the same time, their moms have no idea what it's like to be now in this situation. Some moms might, some moms might have the same story, but it seems like infertility is affecting a lot of women.
It's growing. It's everyone.
Yeah, it's so many people. The numbers are just staggering year to year, as it seems like more and more people are struggling with infertility and miscarriage.
Yeah. Well, we want to jump right in.
Yeah.
And first off, if you guys could just kind of tell us, well, each of you, maybe we'll start with Miss Lisa to warm her up. Just what kind of was your expectations before you knew Anne struggled with infertility for your daughter?
Well, I didn't really have any expectations. I just had dreams. Just, you get married, you have time with your husband a little bit, and then all of a sudden you start talking when, maybe you're going to plan to start a family.
The natural order.
Yeah, in that order. And they had a plan, She's talked about it before, maybe wait a couple of years. And so then it just didn't happen. And then we thought maybe in another year. And, we throw in a prayer every now and then, maybe that would happen, And then I started doing crazy things like buying a lot of stuff. She had a baby drawer, and I filled it up.
My mom has a hope chest. She had a whole closet.
Well, and I had given them things before they ever left home for their hope chest. Just a few things for all three girls. I did just one or two things, but I really started stacking it on for Anne because she was married and I was ready.
Getting that stage of life.
Yeah.
That.
I was ready, I was ready when they were ready, so.
Well, you had a basket first.
Yeah, I did have a
basket. And
basket.
you were filling up that basket, and she would show me things, and at first it was sweet. It was like, oh, that's so fun.
Can't wait, yeah.
Oh, that's so cute, And then the basket, each time she showed it to me, it got more stuff in it and more stuff in it, and then it was like, okay, now you can take it to your house. And then we started filling up a drawer in my house, and then that drawer got full. And it bothered me really, really bad. And I didn't say that, stop buying me stuff. But that's what I started feeling in my heart.
It's like a painful reminder that the baby's not here yet.
Right, because I don't have a use for this right now. And my drawer's full. Where else? Do you want me to start another drawer? And so, one day it kind of came out.
One day it came out very unexpectedly because, Anne's kind and she has a soft voice. And she said, just start taking it to your house. And I said, why? What? I was so oblivious to what might be going on. What's wrong? Da-da-da. And I thought, well, I must have said something maybe, or something. So I said, okay, I'll start, So
I hurt your feelings.
Yeah, it did hurt my feelings, but I thought it was maybe just not a good time for me to bring something, I had no idea what she was going through. She was keeping it to herself, her and Will. So,
because at that time I hadn't been diagnosed with anything. It was pre any of that.
You don't
so
have
I was
information to share. Exactly.
Yeah, it was just
silent fears.
Yeah.
So, that's when
I guess kind of talk began after that because we talked about it again and I apologized, I shouldn't have, because I yelled at her. I was like, I don't want it. Just stop bringing it to me. And so anyway, I obviously apologized for responding to her that way, but I did finally tell her, I was like, it hurts my feelings every time you bring me something now and I have no use for this. And so anyway, that kind of opened up conversation after that, and then it wasn't too many months longer that I had a doctor's appointment, and then the story got started from there.
All right, Mama, how about you? You had your own set of expectations. In fact, you had your own closet of clothes before I was even married. Tell us about it.
I love to shop for clothes, so and I have lots of grandkids all over. So, my story started first with Kendra waited longer to get married. She has been praying for the right guy. There's been a lot of godly guys that came by, but she said, I don't feel that's the one. So we knew that we were getting older. She married at 30. And so expectations were somewhere she's going to be a mom. She's wanted to be a mom her whole life. She played with baby dolls more than Barbies. She went to China and she fell in love with this little girl named Annie who was handicapped at an orphanage, and she said, Mom, can I bring her home? And
I was not married at that point.
So I knew that God was going to take care of this. His ways are higher than ours. I got caught off a little bit when she married Eric, and he was in a wheelchair. And I thought, okay. we're just going to pray for the miracle, because we're going to pray that he can walk and that this will not. So we didn't know whether Kendra could have babies. We didn't think there'd be a problem, but we knew with a wheelchair there was going to be difficulty. And so, we prayed for the miracle. We're still praying for the miracle and believe that God can heal. But God had to work through the other ways. So the whole time, I didn't have expectations, just a lot of faith that it was going to work out somehow.
You were really compassionate to me during that time of trying to figure out if I was supposed to marry Eric, because some moms would say, oh, well, if I can't have grandbabies, no, move on. And you wanted God's will for both of us. And so you were very compassionate about hearing my heart as I was working through surrendering. And basically, for those that haven't heard my story, God just said, trust me, which is the scariest 2 words, because it wasn't like, I promise I'll get you a child. It was just trust me.
Yeah.
And I felt like he was calling me to marry this man. And he said, I'm going to work out the details. Just trust me. So I appreciate your tenderness in those conversations.
Yeah. So Miss Karen, how did you initially respond when you found out, okay, this will now be a problem?
Well, we just started praying more. You just started saying, Eric is a fantastic guy. He was just the one that God called her to be with. And God knew this ahead of time, but he also put that desire in her heart to be a mom.
I think you had more faith and hope than I did, which was really helpful, because there were times when I would get the statistics of naturally you conceiving, the odds are almost 0, 1%. And I would focus on those numbers sometimes, and you would remind me.
Yes. Well, and I know also that I believe the Lord is coming soon. And I said, Lord, if it's not time to have a child in this time, then you've got a different plan. And you've been very active with AFA and doing a lot of great things. And I said, Lord, this is why you're delaying it right now. This is the purpose and the time. And yes, I would like to have a grandbaby I can hold here and play with, but we just have to wait. And waiting is hard.
So in the same way that Ann and I had to hold loosely our desire to be a mom and surrender that to the Lord, sometimes grandparents have to do the same thing.
Right. Mama, you want to tell your story about... I feel like there are some times that I feel like I disappointed you and I'm not saying you put that on me, but throughout the years of desiring a baby myself and then having to let you know, no, this wasn't the month. No, your Christmas present isn't. Because we had a time she thought that she was I gave you I gave her a sweet saying about a house or something. I don't remember what it was, but it was talking about me always feeling like I can come home.
Yeah.
And I thought it was going to be sweet. And then I see her having trouble reading it, and it has nothing to do with a baby. But she's like, you're pregnant? And I was like, no. I had it this is in front of everybody opening Christmas.
She had gone to the doctor for a wellness checkup.
Yeah.
But I didn't believe her. I thought she was just telling me that because she had to get a blood test.
Yeah.
She had to do some more things. And then she gave me this little picture
It was framed.
And it was in this little pretty writing, and I couldn't read it without my reading glasses, and I didn't have my reading glasses when we were opening gifts. And so I was like, in my mind, I had worked myself up to, this is a baby announcement, And so I was like, you're going to have a baby, And so I did that to Anne in front of our whole family,
But she did. I mean, she was not meaning
not intentional.
to do, right?
No,
right.
I would have never.
It's things like that you have to deal with as a mother-daughter relationship. As when the daughter is struggling with infertility, a mom is wanting a baby for me. She knew how bad I was desiring to have a baby and will, and so she's sitting there wanting it for us, but then she's also desiring that for herself too.
I remember praying at one point saying, Lord, if you won't do it for Eric and I, do it for my mom.
Oh, same. Yeah.
I prayed that one.
Same.
She's such a great woman.
And we know how great moms you're going to be. We know the love you have for the Lord. We know the passion you have for kids. I don't know if you did a lot of working with kids at church and everything.
Yeah.
And so we as moms see that. And, we know it hurts. It hurts when you see younger people having baby number 2 and 3. I had a friend who worked at a Right to Life, and she wasn't being able to have children. And this one girl came in that was pregnant with her 3rd or 4th, and she goes, I just wanted to look at this girl and go, how are you doing that?
Yeah.
How are you doing that?
Yeah.
And so, but it's in timing. It's in God's timing. And
Well, dealing with the question of disappointing parents, both Ann and I have said, you guys didn't make us feel like this pressure or expectation, but it's just this inside pressure that we put on ourselves to want to give you grandkids. And because of that, Mom, when I started my fertility journey, Eric and I did not tell you of when we were trying different things because for two reasons. One, I wanted to be able to, if we conceived, have that moment of surprising you and telling you. And I had dreamed about that. And that was something that I had to lay down at the altar because the way our story ended up, you knew when we were trying on our third fertility treatment.
Right.
And we ended up telling you guys, and because we were like, okay, this time we need prayer. Forget the surprise. We just need you to pray. But the first two, you probably felt maybe a little out of the loop. What was that like?
we figured something was going on. We accidentally had the 360 on when they were in Florida one day, and I went.
It's like a location tracking app. We went to Florida for this special treatment that my husband had to get. It's only certain places in the U.S. that can do it, and we thought we were so sneaky.
I said, "What are you doing in Florida?"
Forgot to turn the app off. She was like, "Miami, what are you doing?" We were like, busted. But after that,
New Albany wasn't that hard to get to without people
We
knowing.
were excited to walk through that process, and we have a lot of prayer warriors back home. So you're telling all your friends. I work with a group that's 50 and older, young at heart, and so all those older ladies are all praying and asking. So they all feel very close to this baby, having never met her.
The first two treatments that I did, I understand if our listeners decide I don't want to tell people exactly what's going on, family. I understand if you choose that, but I will say, having not told for 2 treatments and then 1 treatment telling everybody. Well, not everybody, but I told specific people that I knew would pray. I felt the prayer covering, and you were praying in general before, but it was nice to be able to say, okay, on this day, specifically pray for this, and to feel that prayer covering was a real blessing. Now, it was a trade-off of you kind of knew a few weeks later.
Right. There was an expectation.
Anything to tell us?
Yeah. No, we were the same way. I think the first 2 IUIs we didn't tell anybody what we were doing, and then the next 2 we did, which those still were not successful. But it's a interesting thing to also share this information with your parents because it's very private, and then you're like, nobody else has to talk to their parents this much about this side of their life. So it's all very, very interesting.
Mom, you were saying something about that.
I was saying I knew that Kendra was a very modest person, and knowing that the process you were going through, I began to pray in a long way because
it's not fun.
It's not fun for you guys, for either of you, you know, and so I just began to pray through that. I thought this is going to be challenging for her.
There's nothing romantic about fertility treatments.
No. So so those were things that was hard for me to tell at first, because then you're also like, well, what's an IUI?
Yes.
And then to go through that, a whole explanation is like,
what do you have to do to make an IUI?
And I'm not going to make eye contact with you anymore. So what were things that you would pray for our husbands and I, or us, however you want to word that, as we were walking through this stuff?
When I would read my Bible, whenever I would read about how Jesus had healed someone, especially whenever he healed a woman, when the lady touched his the hem of his garment, you know, and then I would think about Lydia, when Jesus laid his hand, just laid his hand, or just said, and I would just beg him, please, please, Jesus, just please put your hand on her little tummy and just heal what is stopping her from conceiving a baby. And it just, because it can happen.
Yes.
It happens every day. It happened then, and miracles happen every day. Some people think that they don't, but they do. And they did, because we have 2 miracles right here. Our babies are miracles.
They are.
They are nothing less.
Yes, they are.
And so I shared with Ann and Kathy one time when we were there at your house about how I'm going to get my story confused because I'm on medicine. But I think it was Lydia that had passed away, and she was known for making all the fine clothes and everything. And he went and he woke her up and said, give her something to eat. And I was sharing, I was like, if he can wake Lydia up, she had just passed away. We don't even know why, and all her friends were upset. And he just went and woke her up. Can he just do a miracle for Anne, or for Will, whichever way it goes, and she had, had things done with her doctors and stuff. And like I said, this was so foreign to me and our whole family. We didn't have anyone in our family that had ever struggled with infertility. Have y'all had anyone?
Nope.
So it was just so foreign.
I remember Ann saying that you'd said, I'm sorry, it was easy for us. And she's like, thanks, Mom. This doesn't help. Not helpful.
Can I say what my brother-in-law used to call me?
No.
Bob. Okay.
No, we're on American Family Radio.
He had a very funny nickname he called me. But
We'll just say you both were easily fertile.
Yes.
Yes.
That was
Fertility
it.
was not a problem for you.
but he was joking,
That's funny.
And so.
I love how you clung to all of those stories of healing in the Bible to be God is the same yesterday, today, and forever. If He is the same, then the same God who raised people from the dead can
Lazarus,
surely
just
create
think of
life in a
that.
womb.
4 days later.
So, what are some things that y'all would tell other parents watching their grown children walk through infertility?
Well, you probably are already covering them with prayer. Pray, Lord, is there anything hindering this? Is there anything that has to be knit together differently, Father? Show us, what that is. Are there any open doors we need to go through? And I don't know if any of you are putting the pressure on, because we do know our daughters and sons will make great parents. So I would just say relax, be patient, and ride through the waves with them. It's disappointing, like I said, when the next cousin is on baby 5 and you're still praying, and you have to go to baby showers and you're sitting there and you just ride through with them, and maybe an occasional, you doing okay?
Just listening was huge for me. I remember when Eric and I had our miscarriage, I was so emotional, and you're the person that I tell everything to. I couldn't even call you initially. We sent a text message. We did. I'm sorry you had to get that information in a text message. Yeah. But it was like, I don't even know. The emotions were so raw. So to have, and you just sent a prayer back, and knowing when to speak and when to just listen was really awesome.
Yeah. One thing that I feel like my mom got good about, she would just say, if you want to talk to me about it, I do want to know. I always want to know, but you don't ever have to tell me if you know. And so that freed me up from feeling like I had to call her every doctor's. She would want to know about. I would tell her about the doctor's appointment coming up or whatever, because usually sometimes it was weekly, sometimes it was twice a week, and so I would tell her. But you got to the point that you understood that it was hard for me to then call you after every doctor's appointment to tell you, because sometimes there was nothing to tell. And so anyway, I will say that was something good for me, to be freed of not having to feel like I had to fill in everything.
That's really good.
Well, and telling parents, God is a God of miracles, and you might get a bad report, and where they say, oh, chances are you'll never have a baby. You say, well, I'm going to take that report to the Father, and He will tell me what I need to do, and you hope is, you just keep putting your hope in the Lord, and maybe He has a whole brand new family that's out there that already needs a mom. And that might be the plan.
Well, we just have a little time left in the program, but I would love for each of our moms to pray, if y'all don't mind, over our listeners. You could either pray for parents that have a child struggling with infertility, or the children. I keep it short.
You want to pray for the parents?
Most gracious Heavenly Father God, I just pray to thank you for this opportunity to sit with our girls and see how they've put their hearts and their souls into helping other people. I pray for this one young lady that's out there. She was in the same shoes. She is in the same shoes that Ann and Kendra were in. I pray to God that you would just put your healing hand on her little tummy and help her to conceive a child if it's your will, Lord, because that's what we want is your will. In Jesus' name.
And Father, we lift up everyone that's listening who is desiring to have a baby, Lord. You know the tears that have been shed. You know the anxiety when they go to a doctor and when they wait for that monthly result to see if there is a baby. And we ask, Father, that you would give them the patience to trust you. You are a God who loves them, and you have a purpose and a plan for them. And I pray, Father, that you would just be with these families, and we just thank you. We put their future into your hands. Thank you, Jesus, for what you're going to do. We love you, Lord.
Thank you for listening to Hannah's Heart.